everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video, I'd like to finally dive deep into how and potentially why I feel like a slightly different person depending on which language I'm speaking. This is something I've personally been aware of for a really long time now, but I've never actually given it much thought until now. So this video is going to be the first of a two-part series on this topic. This video will be about my personal experiences with this feeling, mainly what differences I feel with each language, why I predict it happens, and how it affects me in my life. And the second video will explore actual cognitive, linguistic, and psychological and whatever else research in this area. So without further ado, let's get started. So, as I said before, I feel slightly differently emotionally, and I guess some parts of my personality are different too with each language that I speak. And actually, I wrote a poem back in 2018 describing the slightly different persona that I experience in each relevant language. Fickle identities. Русский. Это самая духовная часть меня, в которой любовь, тепло и солнце, где живет близость, детство и семья. Français. Je suis un caractère de mes rêves, une amie qui je n'ai jamais aimée, mademoiselle chic, moderne, pas facile à manœuvrer. 中文，我就是感觉很可爱，永远学生，永远外人，但一个心有快乐生活来。English. Regular and yet most successful. Professional, colloquial, rude or romantic. Just me. So basically, in Russian, I feel things like cozy, warm, family, sunshine, childish, young. In French, I more so feel things that are like feminine, fashionable, insightful, literary, analytic. In Chinese, I feel more so things like cute, student, fun, and in English, everything else. Every other part of me is kind of there. And it's actually the only language in which I'm comfortable using profanities and being like cool, professional, romantic, and articulate. And when I think about that, it leads me to my first insight. Each language identity is some combination of the language's culture that you're actually aware of and perhaps partial to, and the person you were during that part of your life when you were most exposed to the language or when you learned it. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Like when I was growing up, Russian was the primary language of the family. Everything associated with home and family and like love and being taken care of, all of that is associated with Russian for me. Now as for French, when I had the most exposure to French and French culture and being able to speak in it like decently well and comfortably, that was all during high school. And in high school, I was the kind of girl who always dressed in really fashionable and fancy clothes that my mom picked out for me. And I'm pretty sure I wore heels nearly every day. And then in my last 2 years of college, that's when I was, one, a full-time student 24/7, that was like all I knew and everything that I was always doing. Two, I was very much starting to lean into my cute side at that time. And I took Chinese exclusively for myself and for fun and just for the enjoyment of it. So that's that. So given this insight and knowledge about how I'm specifically different in each one, it starts to make a little more sense about how this could be something that's impacting my life. And one example of where I suspect that this plays a role is this thing that happens to me, that if I have already met you in some language, say English, and then later I find out that you speak some other language I know, like French, I feel extremely uncomfortable starting a dialogue with you in French, or even just responding to saying anything in French. Like, for example, I've already met my two friends, William and Tessa, in college, in English, right? And later, when I found out that they also speak French fluently, I struggled to speak even like 2 sentences to William, and I never even tried with Tessa at all. Obviously, there are other personal factors to consider as for why I might be uncomfortable in a situation like that. Like, it could be my introversion, could be my perfectionism, could be my fear of failure, could be like some anxiety that I have about real or imagined expectations the other person might have about my language level, or whatever else. Could also be related to me having a little bit more limited or just a different vocabulary in each different language. And I would have completely just believed that it's just related to those things and there's nothing more to dig deeper into, except that there is this really special case with how I feel about talking with my mom. The thing is, I am only comfortable speaking to my mom in Russian, no matter the topic. I will struggle to say something. I will completely butcher it and just keep trying. I will runglish it. Anything to avoid speaking English to her. It's just, speaking to my mom in English is extremely uncomfortable, despite the fact that she's completely native speaker of English, and honestly at this point it's probably also her more dominant language anyway. So it must be at least partially due to the fact that the person I am in Russian is more familiar with the Russian side of my mom, and all of our shared experiences are within the Russian context, and we don't maybe know each other's English context as well. So this fact, along with insight 1, leads me to my second insight. Languages are each stored in different contexts in the brain. There's actually no direct connection between what I just said and with the insight 2. Sorry. I just also have this theory separately due to other random or weird experiences that I've had in the past trying to access or switch languages. Like the time when I was trying to access French and say a sentence in French, but all that was coming out of my mouth into my mind was Chinese. Or how in my switching languages constantly video from a couple months ago, how the different languages, grammars, and musicality, accent, whatever, started to all get kind of blended together and confused the more aggressive that I got with the switching and the more my brain got fatigued or whatever. So in conclusion, given my 2 theories, I believe the ultimate truth, at least for myself, is some combination of the 2. We have to switch language contexts, lightly analogous to maybe like the multiple personality disorder, because we've had experiences as one version of ourselves, but not necessarily as another. And you want to be one consistent person with everyone that you know. Is that accurate? I have no clue, but I'm going to do some research on this topic and then upload part 2 real soon with all of the research and information about like, is this true? Is this even a thing? Let me know in the comments actually, have you ever experienced anything like this between the languages that you speak, and if so, have you thought about it? What theories did you have, or what theories do you have? Like, what do you think is going on here? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Qui est cette jeune fille qui
qui regarde back at me.